Real quick, if you haven't gone on over to heroparanormal.com, please do. For the price of a boutique cup of coffee a month, you get all of the content behind the paywall, and there is a ton of it. You can also access Hero Paranormal via Patreon. Go to Patreon, search for Hero Paranormal. There you go. If you're listening to this via YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. It's the only way I can break through the algorithm of control. It's likely I will never be monetized on YouTube for a variety of reasons, the truth being one of them. But if you like, share, and subscribe, that will help me break through the algorithm. The shadow ban is real. All right, let's get to it.
Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Invade. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off. Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Invade. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off.
Blast off on another crazy episode of the Hyper-Anomalous Esoteric Research Organization podcast, aka Hero Paranormal. Broadcasting from Space Wolf Research, just south of the old Sherman Ranch in the Uinta Basin of Utah, my name is Ryan, the anomalous ambassador of the airwaves, bringing you an unbelievable episode today. As many of you know, I was born in Costa Rica, and English is my second language. I was brought up in a culture I would go back and visit family. OVNIs, or UFOs, are very widely recognized as being real in Central and South American culture. It is something you're just brought up with, and it's a reality you have to navigate because of the consistency and the truth about how many lights are in the sky and how many non-human intelligences are seen by people in these areas. It's just a fact of life. There's something really wild going on in Peru right now, and it is basically revolving around villagers in Peru who are having ongoing experiences, attacks, and encounters with armored entities. From all outward appearance, these are not human, although they could be humans in disguise. That's important to note. My father, in the 1960s, did a significant amount of mission work down in the Lima, Peru area nearby, where these are taking place. And he told me all kinds of stories of interesting, out-of-this-world stuff taking place. Now, Peru has a long history of interaction with non-human intelligences and UFOs. But in this district of Alto Nanay, situated northeast of Lima, a state of alarm has taken hold as many villagers claim to be besieged by extremely tall beings that resemble the iconic Green Goblin. Yep, I'm talking about the movie Spider-Man and the more modern depiction of the Green Goblin. They say there are striking parallels to this creature. And these entities have been reported to have large heads, yellow eyes. They assault by nighttime only upon the communities. And it's been happening pretty nonstop since about July 11th. Now, being from Central America myself, I've been listening to various interviews and reports from people in this area of Peru. And it is pretty wild. There's a spot named Iquito, and the villagers have various reports, different information coming out. For all intents and purposes, these things look like the Green Goblin in Spider-Man. In fact, they apparently have these circular devices on their feet which allow them to float, and much like the Green Goblin in the movie, kind of fly around. Now, what's really I think, alarming about all this as I read into the interviews, which are all in Spanish, and is that these are also being likened to and called Pela Caras, which means, get this, the face peelers. So the reason this is important is because not only do we have entities that appear, for lack of a better word, somewhat green, reptilian, much like the green goblin, they seem to have technology which outweighs what the villagers have, and the villagers have been engaging with firearms, but they seem to also have the ability to be armored, or they're wearing armored clothing or suits. They've been described as being heavily resilient to gunfire. Anyway, back to the peel your face name of Pela Caras. It appears that these alien reptiles, for lack of a better word, are in the business of trafficking organs. The reason I say that is there have been various accounts, multiple reports, that, and villages are aware of this, and they, in these interviews, they are talking about it, because there was a girl who had a very brutal injury to her neck, and what they're being told is that they shine a light on your face, they render you basically motionless, and then they engage in peeling your face, removing your organs, and it seems as if they are in the business of organ trafficking. So it brings me back to some of the whistleblowers, much like Herrera, and the belief that there is actual non-human intelligence, reverse-engineered technology being illegally used for human organ trafficking and human trafficking. This falls right into line with that. Evil is definitely out there. It's on Earth, and it's disgusting. But it does appear as if these entities are in the business, or at least rumored to be, as one of their motives, looking for human organs. Now, it's unsure whether these entities actually eat the human organs, and it's for their own consumption, or if they're actually in the quote-unquote business of trafficking these human organs. It sounds crazy, I know, but I'm listening to various reports in Spanish about this. There's a reason they're called Pela Caras. They peel your face first. I'm not sure what they use that for. They shine a light on the villagers, which renders them motionless. And something else that's very interesting in a lot of the reports is there seems to be a smoke screen which can be sent out where when they try to fire upon them, and you can see this in a lot of the videos, I've been going through a lot of videos online where the villagers are pointing flashlights towards these entities, and you can't see anything other than literally a wall, a smokescreen wall. So there is evidence and proof of these claims. And these are people that aren't getting any money for this. They are not winning in any way, shape, or form. If anything, they are asking for the help of the military and the government in these situations, requesting any kind of assistance they can get. And to tell you just how serious this is, some of the universities have actually sent buses to remove students of their university who work from satellite locations or study from satellite locations are being bussed out of these villages to more major metropolitan areas. So there is some truth to all this. Now, this reminds me of a case in England where a woman, a girl, woke up and she basically saw a reptilian like entity, a non-human intelligence, standing above her bed. And what took place next is pretty scary. She was 20 years old. Her name was Charmaine de Rosario Sage. This was wild because she woke up, this reptilian-looking entity was staring down on her. It abducted her, took her to an underground cave. She said there was a group of reptilians there, and they stood around her in a circle. She claims each of them put a hand on her body, and she basically says, and she reports these alien reptiles manipulated her DNA, that she actually changed under their touch. She said she actually saw her body morph from a human form into a more reptilian form. She literally witnessed her skin shift from smooth into scales. So it begs the question, if non-human intelligences or reptilian-like entities are able to do this, what else are they interested in having to do with human DNA? What else are they interested in having to do with human body fat and human organs? Many of the villagers in Peru believe that they may be consuming these, or more likely, this is where it gets weird, trafficking. And if you haven't heard Herrera's whistleblower testimony in Washington, D.C., he goes into pretty amazing detail about how he and a group of other military officers came across a bunch of well-outfitted, mercenary-like personnel, all in black, with United States accents, American gear, American accents, American everything, top-of-the-line gear. They had, in his opinion, what was reverse-engineered technology, and he believes they may have been trafficking in possibly human organs or humans themselves. I think this becomes pretty interesting given the proximity of these recent occurrences in Peru. Just yesterday, I was listening to reports that an older gentleman had of one of these coming down upon him as he slept in the jungle near his residence, and how he and a group of others narrowly escaped the attack. He said it came down from a height of about 50 meters, this green goblin-looking entity on some kind of flying scoot circular deal, and it was on him. It shined a light on his face. He covered his face, throat, neck area, as they are basically being told to do, because this will kind of guard you against being rendered motionless, where they are able to then jump in and it seems like remove your organs. And there's pretty disgusting information on how they do that. I won't get into that. It's a little bit crude. But yeah, they go into detail about what they've found in the past. There is a long history of these Pela Caras, or these entities in the area. And they're calling them Pela Caras. They're not calling them aliens for the most part. Although many villagers believe they could be extraterrestrial in origin, I don't put it beside the point that they may be interdimensional or possibly some mix. So let's not put anything off the table due to semantics. Let's keep our minds open, but it's very real that they see these entities as an enemy. And some of the footage is quite disturbing. Some of the stories are quite disturbing. A community leader in the area, Jairo Avila, has said that he believes these to be armored, and he's personally shot with his firearm at them on 2 occasions, but they basically were unscathed and then vanished. Also interesting is these extraordinary reports of their ability to float. They seem to have these peculiar round-shaped footwear adorned with a distinct red luminescence at the heel, which allows them to float around. One report described it as witnessing a lit candle coming down from a height, initiating this nocturnal assault upon him. And what's strange is there have been other reports of kind of luminescent beings in the area of Peru. Now, consequently, the community has documented, at least with certainty, a variety of these perplexing episodes, and they just are looking for protection. from military or the government at this point. Another important thing to mention is there is a Navy base not far from this area. As I said, my late father opened up Peru. He was down there doing mission work near Lima. And to be honest, the villagers are demanding some kind of assistance because this is just these nightly assaults, these nocturnal assaults have them in a state of just madness. Even during the day, they can't sleep. They're scared, apparently, for what they can only describe as green goblin-like entities floating down upon them and attacking from the sky above. Now, I think it's important, as mentioned earlier, that there is a naval base close by. As you know, Peru is close to the ocean. And I think that although a lot of these people, or at least a portion of these villagers, believe these may be extraterrestrial in origin, I think we don't want to get hung up on the semantics. These non-human intelligences may be dimensional, or as one individual, his name was Ray Palmer, who wrote back in Flying Saucers magazine in 1962, yeah, it goes back that far, and Ray Palmer had a lot of information which he admitted he had gathered, and it was his conclusion that the so-called unidentified flying objects that have been seen in our atmosphere are not spaceships from another planet at all, but are groups and masses of living organisms that are as much a part of our atmosphere and space as life we find in the oceans. The only major difference in the space and atmospheric organisms is that they will have the natural ability to change their densities at will. Now, is it possible that these things are underground, as the case in the UK that I described earlier in the podcast? It's possible. Some believe that they actually may be derived from other localities, like deep in our oceans. Yet others believe they may be plasma intelligences. And plasma lights can be created quite easily. If you can make this experiment take place in your microwave. I don't recommend it, but if you have a cheap old microwave in the garage, try it out. It's a simple experiment to create plasma lights. It can be done using just a regular microwave oven. Place inside of it a lighted candle covered by a glass jar, elevated slightly so that the air is allowed to move freely underneath, and then turn on the microwave. You'll notice that the candle flame bursts into life to become a rather wild-looking ball of plasma. Plasma, that's right. So intense is the heat of the plasma that it will melt both the glass jar and the metallic roof of the microwave if you let it. So I wouldn't let it. But the point is, you can create plasma in a microwave oven with a jar elevated slightly and a candle inside of it. It's that simple. So how far-fetched is it to believe that natural occurrences, especially by dimensional entities, to manipulate plasma isn't possible? It's very possible. We just don't want to get hung up on the impossibilities of any of this and keep our minds open to the possibilities. And the possibilities in Peru are really pretty scary at this point. If there is any valid truth to these Central and South American reports that I'm reading online of these entities possibly trafficking in human organs or eating human organs, this enters an entirely different, scary arena of non-human contact. Of course, there's the possibility that these are just harrowing medical examinations, and the evidence is there to suggest this is a possibility. However, there is something to be said by the reports these villagers are expanding upon in detail in their interviews. Now, I have had family members reach out to Peruvian friends of ours, and I'm getting information which we will go into. However, before any of that, I want to point out kind of the very obvious thing to me, which is a lot of the descriptions of these non-human entities are very similar, if not identical, to what was described by Angel in Las Vegas and the Las Vegas alien encounter, which took place over Beltane, the end of April, the 1st of May. And this is interesting because they're larger creatures. That's not the norm. They also seem to have the ability to blast some sort of smoke screen to cover their view. And I think it's super important to realize that humans usually think of ourselves as being the top of the food chain. However, when interactions like this with non-human intelligences and entities which are larger than us and seem to be more predatory in nature take place, we realize we are not. We are pretty non-ferocious compared to these entities. Scientist Mike Adams showed evidence that planet Earth is being covertly terraformed in more ways than just geoengineering. He concluded that it could lead to the annihilation of the human species and other native life forms if the planet is being reseeded by some of these controlling entities. And for those who believe this is all far-fetched theorizing, the disclosure of government investigations into life after death and out-of-body experiences have been lending some credence to an examination of the satanic agenda behind alien abductions. There is a group within the government that believes that's exactly what's taking place, and they're trying to read into this enemy's mind while not engaging with the phenomenon. The U.S. government has a secret group within it, and they are known as the Collins Elite. Not their actual name, it's an alias, but in the realm of authors, investigators, and researchers, it works pretty well so we all know who we're talking about. The belief that UFO phenomenon has a much darker, ominous agenda is quite a revelation to the demonic link some claim these interactions have. And the resulting interviews and reports coming out of Peru seem to add to the data and also expand on the possibility that this is not just a theory. Something very strange is happening in the Peruvian jungle. Among the locations is the village of San Antonio, in the district of Alto Nanay, northwest of the city of Iquitos. So specifically in this area, these villagers have been attacked repeatedly over the span of a couple of weeks. Over the last 2 days, I have been watching every segment I can on mainstream Peruvian news, and this stuff is all over mainstream Peruvian news. It is a big deal in Peru, and I will be talking about what we have found out from Peruvian friends some of my family members have reached out to. This is the real deal in Peru. It's only here in the United States that we are barely finding out about this, and mostly through social media. Unfortunately, our mainstream news networks have not gone there, so to speak. According to Peruvian mainstream news networks such as La República, these entities are attacking at night. They are nocturnal in nature, and they are vicious. The way that the reporters are coming forward with this, it is obvious that Peru in general is somewhat concerned about this region, these attacks, and the reality of what is taking place. The very fact that villagers are calling these Pela Caras, or the face peelers, lends credence to the real fear that they have of these entities. And we really don't know if, as Herrera said in his whistleblower testimony, if these might be human mercenaries dressed in costumes with armored suits over them and reverse engineered technology they're writing, or if these are quite seriously non-human intelligences of a dimensional nature or an extraterrestrial nature which are interacting and engaging in predatory ways. What I do know is that there is a threat of human organ harvesting, which has been implied in many of the independent interviews. The incident which took place with a 15-year-old girl, which is seemingly one of the most poignant, which ended up with her having cuts on her neck and lacerations, has been attributed to the potential attempt at some of this organ harvesting or archonic behavior by these non-humans or humans in disguise. Whatever these enigmatic entities are, they seem to be alpha predators and seem to be in body armor or protected suits, which are silver in color and basically repel bullets. These are larger entities. This 15-year-old girl was scared for her life. And another interesting aspect is the fact that they seem to be able to immobilize people with the use of a particular light technology. They shine a light technology in the faces of villagers, and this renders the villager or subject which is preyed upon completely paralyzed for a while. One individual said he took some shots with his weapon at these things. They happened to stun him with one of these lights, or they got it to shine on his face, and he was rendered immobilized for a short period of time. So villagers have told others in their community to cover their faces when they are in close proximity of these entities, both to protect against the peeling of their faces and also to protect against this zapper, this light technology that can render them paralyzed for a short period of time. Now, there are photographic images of a graphic nature and video of this 15-year-old young girl who has lacerations and cuts. Pretty brutal stuff. This poor girl was almost in a catatonic, just wildly ridiculous state of shock for hours after the event. And her description, as well as others in their accounts, include this wild technology. And among the technology are these propulsion devices which are circular on the heels of the footwear of the entities which are attacking and assaulting the villagers. And of course, governments have held back futuristic technologies related to military stealth, secret designs, sensor designs, and there are particularly advanced synthetic avionics and propulsion. And some of this is documented in certain places. There are corporations who have trade secrets, and they won't publish any of the schematics or information on these. However, some of this technology has been leaked, at least in rumor. I had someone reach out who had a family member who worked in this field at the Pentagon before they retired, and they let some of this stuff leak out. So this brings to mind the possibility that these could be humans in costumes or disguises, or could possibly be not reverse engineered technology, but actual proprietary technology, which is advanced and in possession of non-human intelligences. Now, it is super important that we touch base on the fact that these peoples in Peru, this is not their first encounter with these entities. In fact, they have traditionally encountered these entities in the past, and sometimes under varying circumstances and different appearances, although most likely the same entities, according to many in the area who have been spoken to. As I said, I've reached out, I've had family members reach out, and the intel gathered has been astonishing. There are terrifying stories of entities emerging from subterranean caves, so it's very likely that these are as I said before, possibly already, here on planet. And although they have the potential of appearing to be otherworldly, by all accounts, I mean, they do not look normal. There are terrifying accounts of them emerging from subterranean caverns and caves and wearing full cloaks, hooded robes. Throughout Peru, there are many stories of an integral tunnel system below ground. There are also many reports of experiences with upright walking serpent-like entities. And there is a long history of serpent deities. Some of these deities have been referred to as the Amaru. There have been so many examples, reports, and experiences gathered that, believe it or not, this is not the first time Peruvian authorities have been called into these areas. And authorities have a long history of closing these tunnel system openings up. They just figured it was too dangerous and that there may be something to all of the reports and the data which has come out of experiences with, well, terrifying humanoids. There is a long history of archonic, non-human entities manipulating humanity into a nearly unescapable system of servitude for thousands of years, feeding off our energy, our bodies, and a little-known topic most don't like to touch on is the fact there have also been human abductions, human mutilations, and many of those coming out of Central and South America. It's not just cattle mutilations in the Uinta Basin of Utah we're talking about here, folks. This stuff happens worldwide, and sometimes humans are the focal point of the aggressive attention. Reports of such mutilations on both humans and animals have baffled investigators, making researchers and investigators alike wonder if these beings are conducting biological experiments on us. There is the infamous Project Grudge Report number 13. This one throws the whole belief that there could be non-humans abducting, mutilating, and experimenting with humans. It throws it not only under the spotlight, but right in the middle of the ring, and it's hard to ignore. No official information on Grudge Report 13 exists, and the U.S. government denies its existence. The late, great radio show host and researcher William Cooper asserted he was tasked with analyzing an annotated version of Grudge Report 13 in the early 1970s. Another gentleman named William English, a former Green Beret captain, said he also analyzed the document. They both said an alleged incident happened March of 1956 involving Air Force Sergeant Jonathan P. Leavitt, who was assisting Major William Cunningham in the White Sands Missile Testing Range. This is near Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico. They were on a project for searching scattered debris from a recent rocket test, and Cunningham was fearful when he heard a loud scream from his partner. He thought Leavitt maybe got bitten by a snake. And Cunningham remembers crossing the dune to aid his partner when he witnessed one of the craziest, most bizarre encounters with non-human intelligence and a human being. Instead of finding Leavitt nursing a snake bite, Cunningham recounted seeing his partner dragged along by a serpentine arm wrapped around his legs. The serpentine arm was connected to a silver disc. It was up in the air, maybe 20 feet away. Cunningham watched, freaking out in horror, as Leavitt was pulled inside the craft, which then disappeared into the sky. The major then ran to his Jeep and radioed for assistance. Security teams arrived, and disturbed Cunningham was confined to the base hospital while they asked him what took place. It was 3 days before they found Levette's nude corpse discovered some 10 miles from the site of the alleged abduction. The corpse had been exposed to the elements for 24 to 48 hours, according to the report. He was severely mutilated. His tongue had been cut from the lower portion of his jaw. His eyes were gouged out and his anus removed. The anus and genitalia had been neatly extracted, like a plug. The body had been completely eviscerated of blood, and, interestingly, there was no vascular collapse, which usually takes place when you bleed to death. Now, although grudge reports 1 through 12 have been declassified, and so has Report 14, there's been no official mention or accounting of Report 13. Which brings me back to this 15-year-old girl who was attacked mysteriously at night by these large non-human entities. She was cut, lacerated, couple places on her neck. The images are very graphic. You can find them online. What's strange about the description during attack modes is that these entities are kind of described as having cloaking technology. Not only can they throw up a smoke screen or a wall of what appears to be smoke, they can also somewhat cloak themselves. If you've ever seen the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, The Predator, there is various times within the movie where this alien predator is able to cloak itself, and you can almost see through it, but it pixelates the surroundings and the background behind it. They are reporting very similar occurrences. And these villagers are describing that it is some sort of a cloaking technology. It appears to be a technology that is enhanced or utilized when they are in close proximity and trying to hide their whereabouts. Now, I don't want to jump off the deep end and get everybody worried that these are quote-unquote aliens, extraterrestrials with advanced technologies attacking this tribe, although this is what we're seeing a lot of in the media. Obviously, these people are scared. Now, let's get to some of the scarier things. As we know, as children watching Scooby-Doo, at times, many faces of evil are just masks, and there are humans behind the evil itself. Let me tell you what I'm getting to. I have had an opportunity to reach out to natives of Peru, and there are some interesting possibilities and theories. Yes, people are very scared. However, that being said, there is the situation that whistleblower Michael Herrera has documented quite well. And this is a situation that is frightening. For those who are unfamiliar with the event, a U.S. ex-Marine has claimed that he fears for his life after being threatened by men in black. And no, I'm not talking about the kinds with the fancy fedora hats. The former soldier says that he was targeted after his Navy unit encountered, for lack of a better word, a bunch of black ops, highly armed, extremely American, at least by the dialects they spoke, group. And that wasn't scary enough. They had mysterious helicopters. They had reverse engineered technology, which appeared to be UFO. And they had all the gear, all the fancy gear. He said that they terrified him. More disturbing than that they were above the law. He also said that they may have been trafficking in either human organs or humans themselves, which brings me back to this case in Peru and the possibility of what I'm hearing from natives of Peru. This is going to blow your mind. It blew mine. This particular area near the river where these tribal people live is highly desired for certain corporations. I won't say their names. I don't want to get targeted, much like Michael Herrera feels targeted. But I will say that there are gold mining operations that are of the highest order in the area, and they would like nothing more than to get rid of the people and the tribes there. These deep-pocketed corporations have a long history of playing dirty, doing anything they can to accomplish their goals. The Peruvians who I and family members have spoken with have mentioned this theory, that corporations could be behind the use of exotic drones and technologies, and for lack of a better word, possibly covert black-budget mercenary groups who may be utilizing reverse-engineered technology to accomplish a very lucrative goal. That lucrative goal being funded by the deep-pocketed gold mining operations in the area. Again, these theories are coming directly from Peruvian natives, familiar with the climate and politics involved in this particular area. Hey, I just want to give all sides an equal chance to shine. We don't want to delve headlong into the belief that this is all 100% accurate and that aliens are attacking tribal villagers in the remote jungles of Peru. It's important to get a large scope of this and be open-minded to all possibilities. Keeping that in mind, there is a long history of high strangeness in the area and unseen realms of various types. Not only large entities have been witnessed here, there are also small entities that are elf-like. So keep that on the radar as we navigate this weird situation. Now, this particular region is very wild. The Amazon River flows through the entire area. Also, the famous Napo River, which has its own secrets and mysteries, including headhunter tribes. Lots of wild stories and wild truths of all shapes and sizes. Now, this area is very remote, Alto Nanay. It is a district which is one of the 13 districts of Minas province in Peru, and very near the headwaters and where the actual Amazon River starts. This is remote, deep, dark jungle. For an alpha predator, which is an unknown, to delve upon this area is wildly horrific. I mean, not only how do they get there, because most people can only get there via boat. There aren't even roads to most of these small villages, and that is why many have asked for the Navy to come upriver and help them against this aggressive threat by perceived non-human enemies. Now, what's super interesting about the Amazon jungle, Central South America, and, many of the abduction and mutilation cases is that they are very brutal. We are very familiar with, here in the United States, cattle mutilations and how oftentimes portions of the face are removed from the skull. This is what is taking place and has taken place in these areas of remote jungle, and that is where the name Pela Caras comes from. Face peeler, or Pela Caras, those who peel faces. That is why this particular unseen, possibly extraterrestrial enemy, at least according to these villagers in particular in Alto Nanay, that is why they are calling these Pela Caras. Keep in mind that this is brutal. There are many stories and many experiencers to the horrors of some of these entities which are known to mutilate humans. And most of the mutilations of humans I have read into, other than that case 13 of Project Grudge, the majority of human mutilations come from South America, Central America, and other countries, but the vast majority come from South America. I'm not sure why that is, just keep that in mind. Now, one of the images I used for this podcast had basically a snapshot, a picture from a video that came purportedly from this same region, from Peru, and it was a video that you can find on YouTube of a man being pulled away, his corpse being pulled away by police officers, and it is quite literally his face has been peeled off. It is pretty scary stuff. I don't know all the ins and outs of that particular video. It was captured by a handheld cell phone recording from another cell phone. It seems very legitimate, difficult to fake. And this is exactly what the Pela Caras, or the face peelers, are purported to do, among other things, including human mutilation of other areas of the body. Down in this region, everyone has a story or knows someone who has a story of the Pela Caras. Now, the particular video where I captured that image from, where it appears a human was mutilated and the face removed, was uploaded August 2nd of 2023, and it is from the same general area we are discussing. So there is a very possible explanation that this is possibly related to the information we're covering. In fact, if you want to search the video and see it yourself, it is highly disturbing. I recommend against it, but if you would like to search the video and see the full video footage yourself, this is the search that you would put in the search bar for YouTube. Aliens in all caps, followed by the following words. Aliens, kill, man, brutal, attack, confrontation, 2023. That will pull the video up for you, and the footage is purportedly real footage from Loreto, Peru. Again, I can't verify any of it. All I can say is this does at least offer a pretty realistic depiction of the information that tribal natives in the area are describing these attacks as in the past, historically, currently, and what they mean by Pela Caras, translated face peelers. Now, there's many possibilities when it comes to these creatures, these entities, as to what they may be. As I mentioned, they could be a huge corporate psyop with the utmost in exotic technology. Quite literally, they could be a black budget group of militarily trained mercenaries trying to advance a proposed project with deep-pocketed corporate interests behind them, utilizing reverse-engineered or exotic technology. These entities could also be primordial entities who have always called Earth home and have lived in the underworld or in cave systems or dimensionally, quite literally walking among us. Or, of course, they could be from the unseen cosmic realms or quote-unquote extraterrestrials, and they came here from somewhere else. Keep in mind that it could be a situation where they came here from somewhere else, but just a long time ago, and they call this home now. So those are some possibilities, or as the Collins elite believe, they are strictly demonic. They definitely seem to be demonic in their activities, so that is always one of the most important possibilities to not overlook. There are varying opinions on all of this. Now, George Knapp is a highly respected investigative journalist who I consider a friend. He has penned a UFO statement to Congress explaining information he has gathered, and he gathered this in Russia, that the Russian government engaged with UFOs a number of times. So there were unidentified flying objects which they engaged, meaning Russia tracked and shot at UFOs. He essentially testified before Congress and gave them these notes, which he gathered. So we've considered Russia an enemy for some time. It seems only appropriate we would want to read the enemy's mind, and apparently the enemy was also scared and engaging, tracking, and shooting at UFOs. So it's not just villagers in the jungle of Peru who are worried. Major world superpowers are as well. It seems readily apparent that we are by no means all alone in the universe, or this reality as we know it. UFO sightings worldwide are causing widespread panic. And to make things even a little bit spicier, many believe that the United States and other major world powers are in possession of exotic material. What they are using that material for is not exactly clear. Neither is the fact that they are rumored to be in possession of actual reverse-engineered exotic technologies. By proxy, of course, with plausible deniability, the cooperation of military contractors who are the actual owners of that technology. What that's being used for, again, is not evidently clear. Where things really start to get strange is the fact that former heads of military programs are coming forward. The former head of the Israeli space program has come out with some interesting information. The ex-Israeli space head says the U.S. government is working with aliens. He claims they are real, and the U.S. government has an agreement to work with them. He has claimed the aliens are allowed to do experiments here as they research. He has also claimed that American astronauts are doing the same in a secret underground base on Mars. The ex-head of the Israeli space program says President Trump was ready to reveal everything. However, the Galactic Federation shut him down. Now, much of this information came out 2 years ago, which, retrospectively, looking at President Trump's current situation, this starts to make a lot more sense, and the possibility of it seems a lot more real given how many indictments have been thrown at this poor guy. He's definitely targeted by someone, that's for sure. And the ex-Israeli space head who came forward was none other than Haim Eshed, very well respected, and ran the space agency for Israel for nearly 3 decades. If anybody was to know, he might be the guy. Cooperation between aliens and humans dominate conspiracy thinking. There are theories that captured aliens and UFOs are involved in a secret project utilizing an underground tunnel and bunker system that supposedly exists below Area 51, as well as other locations. Basically, deep underground military bases are rumored to connect, such as Dulce, New Mexico, and Area 51. Pretty far-fetched, right? Well, oddly, the conspiracy theory contains elements of fact, and 3 government agencies, NASA, the CIA, and Department of Defense, are involved. Michael Schratt has claimed that there is a tunnel system, and that the tunnels were dug by a nuclear-powered drill that can dig 3 miles of tunnel a day. These tunnels also connect by underground train to other military facilities where leaders of government will go and live after a nuclear event. These tunnels are in fact called N tunnels, P tunnels, and T tunnels. They have been drilled next door to Area 51 at the Nevada test site for decades. Officials claim that this complex of tunnels has been deactivated. That's according to the Department of Energy. But has it? The Dulce underground base is the subject of mass conspiracy theories, claiming that a jointly operated human/alien underground facility exists under the infamous Archuleta Mesa on the Colorado-New Mexico border. Of course, this is near Dulce, New Mexico. Claims of alien activity first arose from Albuquerque businessman Paul Benowitz. Residents of Dulce often claim to have seen UFOs, strange moving lights, and other unexplained phenomena. Jicarilla Apache Legislative Council President Ty Vicente has embraced the notion of a Dulce base. So, is there a top secret agreement between non-human intelligence and military personnel? Are there special projects being undertaken, possibly with a gray area between the two? Is the use by military contractors of reverse engineered exotic craft and technology being used to fulfill the projects, programs, and goals of deep-pocketed corporations? These are all big questions. Or it could be a lot simpler. We could just be targeted by something we don't understand. Also, head on over to heroparanormal.com to access all the content behind the paywall. Again, for just the price of a cup of coffee a month, you get it all, the whole enchilada. You can also go to YouTube to listen to more content. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help me break through the algorithm of control. The shadow ban is real. Until next time, keep your eyes to the skies, feet on the ground, but don't forget to take a look around.
Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Invade. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off. Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Invade. Blast off, blast off, blast off.